Yo, dudes, the Empire's pretty chill. Maybe you could, join it or something.
Hey everyone, Lucamus Prime here. So, it's time for another review in the Batman reviews I'm doing. And today, guys, I'm going to be reviewing what is the third installment of the Burton and Schumacher era of the Batman franchise. And this movie would have to be a movie that I personally am not really a fan of, guys. But I think it's, shall I say, a mediocre mess. Not good, but not bad either. I'm in the middle for it, like a mediocre mess. And that movie, guys, would have to be 1995's Batman Forever, directed by Joel Schumacher, produced by Tim Burton, based, of course, on the DC Comics character Batman himself. So, what do I think of this movie, guys? So, as I've already mentioned in my previous review for Batman Returns, I've said that, in my opinion, this movie is an unnecessary sequel, and that it didn't need to be made, because, in my opinion, Batman Returns perfectly closed the franchise well. So, I've already said this movie, in my opinion, is mediocre. So, in my opinion, it does have its moments, which I'm going to talk about in the pros of the movie. So, yeah. So on to why I think I'll say the good quality of this movie. So, even though I personally did not like how the action scenes of this movie were, shall we say, torn down, because, there is one thing I don't like about this movie, guys, which is actually with regards to the rating of the movie, because compared to the first two films of this franchise, which are rated 15 in my country, this movie, guys, Batman Forever, is rated 12. You see about 12? It's rated 12, guys. Yeah, I can't believe I made it 12, which is pretty ridiculous. I'm doing a PG sign here, so yeah, it's regarded as either being rated 12 or PG, which is just ridiculous for a Batman movie, in my opinion. So, yeah, I can't really believe that it made it PG-13, but I will admit that I think the action scenes are still done decently, I guess, and yeah. Also, as well, the cinematography is also fine for the standards of the 90s, guys. Although, in my opinion, some of the shots of Gotham look like it's from an old video game of some sort. Really, not really that good. And we, of course, as well, finally get the appearance of Arkham Asylum in this movie, guys, because it was absent from the first two films and finally makes its debut in this movie. And speaking of debuts, guys, we get an appearance by Robin, who is, of course, Batman's sidekick, and played by Chris O'Donnell in this movie. And yeah. And in my opinion, guys, I tolerate Robin the most in this movie. I hate him in the sequel, but yeah. So. And also as well, guys, in this movie is also known for having a new actor for Batman, because Michael Keaton did not return to reprise his role. Instead, Batman is played by Val Kilmer. And I will admit that Val Kilmer was nowhere near as iconic or legendary as Michael Keaton's performance, but I thought he was decent with what he had. You know, he had some good moments, but some bad moments, in my opinion. And he's definitely a way better Batman compared to the absolutely abominable portrayal in the next movie we get into, the trash talk of that. And also, the music is also good, I guess, composed by Elliot Goldenthal, but in my opinion, nowhere near as iconic as Danny Elfman's music from the first two films. And there's even some songs, guys, which are featured, such as Hold Me, Thrill Me, Kiss Me, Kill Me by the band called U2. And also, as well, a song from this movie as well called Kiss from a Rose by Seal. And even though this movie, in my opinion, was mediocre, I think one good thing for this movie is that Seal was able to have his career be skyrocketed success with his song in this movie, because it became a very popular song, and probably one of the best songs of his career, and probably my favourite song that he's ever sang, definitely. Because it sold more than 2 million copies in the United States alone. So, yeah. And also, guys, I think probably the main standout to this movie, probably the main show stealer, is probably Jim Carrey as the Riddler, because in my opinion, he was the best part of this movie. And he played him really well in the movie, and I like how he captured the same portrayal of the character from the Adam West 1960s Batman show as well, played by Frank Gorshin, may he rest in peace. I thought he did a great job, and until I saw Paul Dano in the Batman 2022 movie, he was my favourite live-action Riddler at first, in terms of performance in movies, but in terms of movies, Paul Dano all the way for me, personally. And I think he's probably one standout to a movie, in my opinion. Probably, in my opinion, the best thing about a movie, and probably the thing I love to rewatch the most about a movie. And also, returning from the first two films, we do have Michael Gough, rest in peace, returning as Alfred, and also Pat Hingle, rest in peace, returning as Commissioner Gordon. So, I am at least glad those two actors came back in this movie, despite, you know, many of the recasts that happened in this movie, like with Batman, for example. And of course, the pretty infamous one I'll be getting to in the now on to Bad Quarters movie, guys. So I've already said, guys, but I hate how this movie is rated 12 in my country compared to 15. And it's all due to executive meddling because the studio reckoned the reason why Batman Returns didn't make as money as expected was because it was deemed too dark and inappropriate for children. But that really annoys me, guys, because Batman is not for children. Like, he never was designed to be a character aimed at children, in my opinion. No way. Like, for God's sake, his comics are dark, and even many of his games, like the Arkham games, are pretty dark as well. And even games he appears in as a supporting character are pretty dark, like the Injustice games, for example. Even the comics were also dark as well. So as a result of this, Tim Burton was replaced as director by Joel Schumacher, may he rest in peace. And the many changes made to the aesthetics and tone. So, like, it went into a light-hearted direction, and I hated that. But, guys, I'm not blaming Joel Schumacher for this. It's not his fault, because he, too, wanted to make the movie dark, like Tim Burton did, but Warner Brothers made him not do that. So, yeah, I'm very angry at Warner Brothers for that, and Joel, of course, did apologise, so I do appreciate him for apologising, and I don't blame him for this movie being so light-hearted compared to the first two films. Now, on to the cast of the movie, guys. So, I've already touched upon the fact that I think Val Kilmer is a much weaker choice for Batman compared to Michael Keaton, and the reason why is because I feel like the way he portrayed him was pretty questionable. Like, in my opinion, nowhere near as dark or brooding as Michael Keaton's portrayal, and I feel like when he was playing Batman, in some cases he was acting too much like Bruce, wearing a batsuit, really. Like, he was acting way too much like Bruce, because when you play Batman and Bruce Wayne, guys, you have to give two different personas, and I feel like Val Kilmer didn't really get it right. Especially in his scenes as Batman where he's interacting with the new love interest being Chase. I'll go on her in a second. So, yeah, I feel like Val Kilmer, in my opinion, was not as good as Michael Keaton, but definitely a better Batman compared to the abominable portrayal in the next movie. And I do like him far more, guys, as a voice of Moses in DreamWorks' Prince of Egypt movie, but as Batman, nah, I don't think he's that good in the role, to be honest. Another example of miscast, guys, would have to be for the other villain in the movie besides Riddler, which is Two-Face. Because in this movie, guys, they recast Two-Face. He's no longer played by Billy Dee Williams like in Batman 99 when he played Harvey Dent. In this movie, guys, he's now played by Tommy Lee Jones. And yeah, and that creates a big continuity error due to the fact that, you know, that Harvey now looks completely different to how he did in Batman 1989, which is ridiculous. Makes no sense at all. And in my opinion, and Two-Face was a pretty ridiculous character, in my opinion. Like, in my opinion, and Tommy Lee Jones was pretty miscast as him. Now, don't get me wrong, guys, I like Tommy Lee Jones far more in other things like the Men in Black movies and No Country for Old Men and Captain America: First Avenger, and there's probably other great things. He's a great actor, but in my opinion, Two-Face would have been his worst role, and I do strongly prefer Aaron Eckhart from The Dark Knight, and also Billy Dee Williams from the Batman 1999 movie as Harvey Dent, but yeah, I definitely hated how Two-Face was portrayed in this movie. I really didn't like him. I thought he was pretty bland and not even menacing either, in my opinion. Just like a pretty bad performance, in my opinion. And also, onto the love interest called Dr. Chase Murden, played by Nicole Kidman. I definitely did not like her. In my opinion, she was pretty creepy because she was stalking and was deceitful. And I also, as well, definitely hated how she misused the bat signal just to get Batman's attention to come to her so she could flirt with him. Like, that was a pretty dumb move because the bat signal is only meant to be used for emergencies only. And she used it just to summon him so that she could flirt with him, which is a very dumb move right there. Like, what if something bad was happening and Batman wasn't there to see it because she got him there, you know? It's ridiculous. So, yeah, and I consider this being Nicole Kidman's worst role, guys, and I like her in other things, you know, like, I liked her more in the X-Men universe as Queen Atlanta, and also, as well, somewhat in the movie called The Golden Compass, even though I wasn't really much fan of that movie, and there's probably other things she's in, but I definitely did not like her in this movie. I think this is probably her worst role ever, because I definitely didn't like her. She was pretty creepy. And also, you know, I talked about the continuity error about Two-Face looking very different to in Batman 89. It leads on to this bad quality I have because this movie, guys, despite being regarded as, you know, the third installment to his franchise and a follow-up to Batman Returns, this movie doesn't even feel like a sequel. It feels more like its own standalone movie compared to the first two films, which have great connections to each other. Like, because I don't even seem to call this movie even referencing its previous two movies at all, really. Like, it feels more like its own standalone reboot, really. Does not feel like what's supposed to be the third installment of a franchise. It feels like its own standalone movie, like, such as Two-Face looking different, and also, Val Kilmer also does not resemble Michael Keaton at all when he plays Bruce either. And in addition to that, we even get a flashback showing the death of Bruce's parents, guys, and the way it's portrayed is very different to how it was portrayed in Batman 89, which helps me even more decide this movie is a standalone movie and not a sequel to Batman Returns, so yeah. It's pretty stupid, in my opinion, how they made it feel like it's own standalone movie, and also I feel like the pacing can be quite slow sometimes, in my opinion, and really, I think for a movie which is, what is it, like 2 hours long, I feel like it can drag on pretty long, in my opinion, despite only being 2 hours. I mean, there's movies I've seen which are longer, it's movies which feel shorter due to a great pacing they have, but yeah, still, goodness me. There's also a very poor grasp to the source material as well, guys, because in this movie, Dick Grayson is introduced when Two-Face and his goons kill his parents at the circus. I think it's called the Flying Graysons. I think it's called the circus that he's performing at. And what is pretty dumb is, it's unfair to comics because in the comics, Two-Face is not responsible for their death. It's a criminal called Tony Zucco, not Two-Face. So yeah, that's pretty ridiculous in my opinion. And I think Bruce taking in Dick Grayson in after his parents died doesn't make any sense because Dick is a fully grown man, and Bruce even calls him a college student at one point in the movie. So yeah, like, why do you take him in when Dick Grayson is grown up? It's pretty ridiculous in my opinion. And also as well, I definitely as well didn't like the redesign for Batmobile either because compared to a very iconic design from the first two films with Michael Keaton, this Batmobile looked more like a giant go-kart than an actual Batmobile. It was pretty dumb in my opinion how they changed the Batmobile to look like that, really. It looked like a toy. Didn't even look like the actual Batmobile from the previous two movies at all, which is pretty stupid. And yeah, like, I don't know why they do that to a Batmobile. And plus, I think the movie also can get really cartoonic in some areas. Like, for example, the boss of Edward Nygma, who he kills by throwing him out the window on that chair, then letting go by taking off that device on his head. I feel like that boss was pretty cartoonic the way he was delivering his lines, and yeah, I didn't really like that, to be honest. And yeah, pretty bad in my opinion. And I've already touched on the fact that I think that the music in this movie is nowhere near as iconic as Danny Elfman's. I definitely do think that as well. And yeah. So this movie, in my opinion, guys, is a mediocre mess, but still a more tolerable movie compared to the next movie I'll be covering in this franchise is Review Marathon. And yeah, but I feel like it has really bad moments, really, and plus I think the origin story of Two-Face also feels very forced because it's only less than a minute, guys, and it's in the court. So yeah, that's pretty stupid because it shows chemicals spilled all over his face, which makes him go insane. And that rehashes the Joker from the first movie. You know, how he became the Joker. It's pretty stupid, really, in my opinion. So yeah, I did not like that at all. Goodness me. And there's also loads of other inconsistencies. So I've already said about the court scene showing Two-Face's origin story. So, like, why would Batman appear in court? I seen on a news broadcast. That makes no sense whatsoever. Goodness me. And also, Batman also says Robin should not kill Two-Face, makes him a hypocrite because then again, though, after telling Robin that killing his own parents' murderer brought him no peace and that he wouldn't help Robin do the same, he kills Two-Face at the end of the movie because he allowed Two-Face to fall. When he can't flip his coin, he falls. So, yeah. And there's also a scene where Batman says he never fallen in love before, which is not true because in the first two films he has had a love interest, being Vicky Vale in the first movie and in the second movie, Catwoman. So, yeah. Like, this helps me reinforce the idea that this movie is a standalone movie and not a sequel to the first two films. So, yeah. That's how it feels to me. To me, this is a non-canon fan fiction standalone movie, which is not connected, in my opinion. So, yeah. And, so, yeah, guys, like, in my opinion, guys, this is a mediocre mess. And nowhere near as iconic or as memorable as the first two films. And like I've already touched upon, my biggest bad qualities are that the executive meddling, which made it 12 instead of 15 in my country, and also Tommy Lee Jones, in my opinion, was horribly miscast as Two-Face, and I feel Val Kilmer's performance was also much weaker as Batman compared to before. with Michael Keaton's portrayal. And when it comes to Chris O'Donnell's portrayal of Robin, I thought he was okay in this movie, guys. I thought he was fine with what he was given. Definitely way more tolerable compared to his in the next movie, because I definitely hate how he's portraying him in the next movie. Although he's not my favourite live action Robin, guys. My favourite Robin in live action will be Brenton Fraser from the Titans show, which is on Netflix, and yeah, and I think it's on HBO as well. But yeah, still though, I thought Chris was okay what he was given. Although he was alternating between being smug and assured and also whiny and bratty, often with no reason. So yeah, quite confusing, but I thought it was tolerable compared to the next movie. So yeah. So guys, this is me reviewing 1995's Batman Forever. In my opinion, a mediocre mess and a unnecessary sequel. So if I was to rate the movie out of 10, guys, well, I don't remember what I gave it on my ranking video that I gave back in 2020, but when I look back at the movie, guys, after rewatches, especially from last night's rewatch, I now give this movie a very mediocre 5 out of 10. So yeah, not a bad movie, but not a good movie in my opinion. I'm like in the middle on that opinion when it comes to Batman Forever. And for what it's worth, it's still a way better movie compared to the next movie, which I'm going to have to be reviewing next week. Oh dear God, I am not looking forward to reviewing that. Oh my God. Yeah, that means we're going to get a trash talk, guys. So yeah. So no, overall, guys, this is me reviewing Batman Forever from 995. So overall, guys, be sure to give this video a like, and also be sure to comments what you guys think of Batman Forever. If you've seen it, what do you guys think? Tell me your thoughts are on it. Also, be sure to join Team Prime by pressing subscribe for movies coming in the future. If you'd like to be a member, you can join the YouTube out or in the description, and I'll see you all later.